In this video, we're going to talk about chatbots and LLMs. Now, what is the difference between chatbots and LLMs? What is the history of chatbots? And what's the current status of chatbots? I think that's enough. Big font. Let's look at an old chatbot called Elisa. Perhaps you have heard of it. This was how previously chatbots looked like, so they were rigid. So if Elisa is supposed to be playing the role of a psychotherapist, but if I ask Elisa a question which is not related to psychotherapy, like for example, what is a computer? It will say, why do you mention computers? Well, I want to know what a computer is. So you see where I'm going to, what do you think machines have to do with your problem? So that's, if you have used ChatGPT, Claude, Gemini, you see the difference now. Now, these chatbots, the way they worked was that they were rigid, as I said. So on the back end, they work like, if input of the user is something like hi, then the output, let me expand this a bit here, like that. Then the output would be something like print hello. So the chatbot would print out a greeting depending on your input, and then if you if you submit as a user something more complex, then it would try to match like the best answer possible, and that brings us closer to how today's LLMs work, but it was still very, very far from how today LLMs work. So let's go now to LLMs and chatbots. What's the connection between LLMs and chatbots anyway? So we're here. LLMs are the backbones of chatbots. So ChatGPT, for example, is one of the chatbots, and it is a web app. So the chatbot is a web app. Now the LLM is another program which runs separately from the chatbot, right? So as a user, when we enter some text in the chatbot interface, like hi, then this web app, in this case it's a web app because I'm accessing it from the browser. So this web app will send that input to a large language model, so which is basically a program. And that program is running somewhere in the cloud, in a server. So that input is sent to that model processes that, and it gives you the output. Now, here is something interesting. If you continue saying, so if you continue sending input to the model, what happens is that the entire conversation is sent back to the LLM. So not only hello. So anytime you submit, you press enter here, the entire conversation, your input and the output you got is being sent back to the LLM, so that the LLM knows the entire context of what you're saying. That's how it keeps track of, that's how it sends you back the information, basically the response. So we have two kinds of LLMs based on where they run. So we could have a cloud-based LLM or a local LLM. Let's make this different. So these are the two kinds of LLMs. So what's the difference between the two? A cloud LLM, for example, ChatGPT or Gemini or Claude, they are all cloud LLMs, meaning that when you send a query, that query is being sent to this program, so to the LLM program. It's a computer program which runs in a server. But it can also be the other way, which is you can get an open source LLM and install it in your computer. One example is Llama. So that's LLM. Basically, you get the entire code, you install it in your computer, and then you can create a web interface. So you can talk to that LLM from your computer, and the queries will not be sent to the cloud, but they will stay locally in your computer. But in either case, cloud or local, you are interacting with the LLM through a middle interface, right? So it can be a web interface. Let me fix that. It can be a web interface. It can be a mobile interface. So meaning that this ChatGPT has, for example, a mobile app version, and it can also be desktop. And of course, it can also be a command line interface. That would be the case if it's a local LLM. But we also have interfaces like Gemini, CLI, which allows you to interact with Gemini through your command line. So these are the different types of LLMs, cloud and local, when it comes to where they run. And back to how they work. So again, as I said, the entire conversation is being sent to the LLM when you're chatting with it. And the way that works is this. So the LLM will get your text, so the entire text, and it will convert it into tokens. These tokens will look like this. Basically, it will be like a list. If you know Python lists, for example, every word will be as a separate item. So that's a token, hi, then the other one, hi. So you see from here, then the other, then it comes there, and then goes how, etc., etc. So the entire conversation will be sent to the LLM. The LLM will convert it. It has a tokenizer, so a special part of the program will convert that into this list of tokens. And then what will happen is that the LLM will predict the next tokens, right? And it is trained to do so by large language. So things from Reddit, things from GitHub. So all the forums on the internet, Wikipedia, everything you can find, that's a massive, massive amount of text. So it has learned how to predict the next conversation by knowing what happens in real language. So basically the LLM has seen everything, and so it knows what happens next. And sometimes it also hallucinates, so that can happen. But as we know, it happens rarely. And that's how LLMs work. So it tries to predict the next response and give it back to you. Now, that brings us back to AI apps as a developer, what you can do with LLMs. So we can build AI apps, but let's talk about that in the next video. So see you there.